Hey guys, today we're driving the 2022 Nissan Frontier. This is an SV. It's nice to get into a mid-trim model of one of these. All we've driven so far, except for this, is the Pro 4X. This is a crew cab short bed, so it only has the 5-foot bed. We do have bed liner though, and a bunch of options. I'll put everything in the description that's fitted to this truck. MSRP is around $35,000. This Frontier has a 3.8 liter V6. It makes 310 horsepower, and it's mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission. This one we have today is 4-wheel drive. It has a 2-speed transfer case, 4 high, 4 low, and 2-wheel drive. Let's walk you around this new Frontier. We'll talk about what it's been like to live with this week, and go for a drive. So, in the back of this crew cab, we have a decent amount of space, though these seats are pretty vertical. I haven't spent a lot of time back here, so I can't really attest to how comfortable they are, but I have a reasonable amount of legroom, and we do get a couple USB ports back here, a USB-C and a Type A, as well as a 120-volt plug outlet for a max of 400 watts. You also get another outlet in the bed, just like that. All new interior for this new Frontier, all new truck for this new Frontier. It still shares the chassis and platform from the previous truck. However, everything has been updated, and I think inside and out it looks pretty good. We get a small little armrest right here, a couple of cup holders, and a rear sliding window. The bottom of these seats also flip up and give you a little bit more storage underneath, which is nice. I do really like the look of this new Frontier. I think it's a very well proportioned truck. This SV isn't as aggressive or off-roady looking as the Pro 4X that we've tested, but we still get a decent amount of ground clearance, around 9 inches from the front and rear differentials. We have 17-inch wheels with loads of sidewall. I really like the way the front end looks on this new Frontier. We have a very sharp grille, Nissan's new logo with the white accents, and we even get a couple of recovery toe points right there. Let's hop in, start this up, and I'll show you around the interior. All right, so on the inside of this 2022 Nissan Frontier, we've gone over a lot of the stuff in the Pro 4X videos, but we'll just give you a little bit of a refresher. Basically, we have a really nice blend of modern technology and physical controls and actual buttons, knobs, switches, volume controls. Everything is here and it's physical. You don't have to go deep into a menu. There's a bunch of settings in this truck that you can, customize to your preferences, but once you get those set, you really don't have to go into the infotainment for anything else. You get Apple Carplay and Android Auto. There's no wireless option yet. This Frontier SV has a heated steering wheel, heated seats, a nice looking sunroof here. Show you what that looks like. Letting a little bit of mist in the cabin. There you go. And you've got a nice manually operated shade here. A lot of great storage throughout this Frontier. We have a lot of spaces here to put mobile devices, drinks, what have you, and everything is lined with this grippy rubber coating that you can take out and wash if you need to, which is great. Pretty spacious center console with a cigarette lighter plug. And we have a couple USB ports here, USB Type A, USB-C, another cigarette lighter outlet, and the glove box. There's also another space up here on the dash, again with this grippy rubber material to put some more things. We have a digital center gauge cluster, very similar to what is in a lot of other Nissan vehicles. You can see some auxiliary gauges, fuel economy information. This is rated for 17 miles to the gallon in the city and 22 on the highway, I believe, 22, 23. Fuel economy is basically unchanged from the previous generation Frontier. I've affectionately called this new Frontier a new old truck. I love the simplicity with everything here. It's such an easy vehicle to live with and to use. We have lots of physical controls over here to the left. We can enable or disable all of our safety systems. We can quickly change gauge cluster brightness, enable tow mode, which is very useful for towing and for back road driving if you want to have a little bit more fun. You get your traction control off button down here, hill descent, And in this SV, we get a couple of blank switches where you would have diff lock and stuff like that in the Pro 4X. The driver's window is auto up and down. Everything else, you got to hold. We've got physical mirror controls there. A decent looking reverse camera. Super wide angle, though not the most attractive coloring and everything. That said though, love these seats. They're very comfortable. Nissan Zero Gravity seats are always very cushy and nice to sit in. We have some padding on the armrests, but this week driving this around, I've been very comfortable and found a nice driving position. This wheel does only tilt. There's no telescoping, but for me at 5'10", I fit great in here, and again, haven't had any issues driving this week. Let's show you under the hood and take a look at this 3.8 liter V6. Pretty nice engine, sounds good. I'm glad that they stuck with a naturally aspirated V6 for this truck, in keeping with the Frontier's tradition. It has 310 horsepower. We've only really tested this and filmed videos on this at altitude, about 6,000 or 7,000 feet. So I'm excited to show you guys what the power is like at sea level back here in Michigan. It feels pretty good. It's got a decent amount of torque, around 281 pound-feet of torque, I think. And 310 horsepower mates up nicely with this 9-speed automatic. All right, that's probably enough of a walk around. Let's go for a drive and show you what it's like behind the wheel of this new Frontier. So we just recently uploaded a video of the Pro 4X going off-road. We did a pretty extensive off-road test on a trail in Utah. And one of my big takeaways from that video was just how quiet the Frontier was over bumps and how tightly screwed together the interior was, even though we were hitting some really rough terrain. And I will say that's the same case with this SV. It's so nice to be able to get into a truck, go over bumps, potholes, really rough roads, and not have any interior rattles or any noises. The suspension is super quiet. These 17-inch wheels and tires do a nice job kind of floating over everything. I don't think the ride quality in this SV is as smooth or soft or comfortable as the Pro 4X with the Bilstein dampers, but it's not bad, and considering this came with reasonably high tire pressures this week, around 37, 38 PSI, I think the ride quality is very nice. Really, one of my only complaints about driving this Frontier is just throttle sensitivity. And this could be a pre-production thing too. I feel like the throttle pedal is just a little bit too sensitive on tip-in. It's almost like it's always in a sport mode, and I'd like just a bit more linearity from the gas pedal. That stays about the same when you put it into tow-haul mode, and generally it's just something that I've gotten used to this week, and I've adapted to it and recalibrated my right foot, but just a minor complaint. The other complaint that I have, the turning radius on this Frontier is abysmal. It's fine when you're just driving around normally, but if you're parking in parking lots or city environments or on really tight trails, it's just a really wide turning radius, and you definitely have to do more three-point turns than you would in many other vehicles on the road. Besides a little bit of wind noise, the cabin in this is pretty quiet. And on these more highway cruising oriented tires, I think handling is quite a bit better than the Pro 4X. There's a bit more grip on turn-in. Front end is a bit sharper on this slightly stiffer suspension. And I really do like this 9-speed automatic transmission. It's super smooth between shifts. It's very responsive. It does a nice job letting the engine ride out its torque band. It doesn't downshift too much when you floor it. We have a bunch of different displays here on our center digital gauges. We have an off-road display that shows us our angle of tilt or incline. what mode our transmission and gearbox is in. A bunch of gauges, driving data, fuel economy, driving aids, tire pressure, all that good stuff. And then all of our settings. There's all 310 horsepower going to work for us. It's decently quick. I think the V6 sounds pretty good too. Super linear power band, well tuned, well calibrated, no complaints with this drivetrain. I have pretty good visibility in this Frontier too. From the sides, I have a really nice low side window here, and pretty good visibility out of the back and side windows too. You can fully disable traction control in this Frontier, which is nice. Though with the open rear differential, we get a lot of one wheel peel action. That's okay. If you really need traction, switch it into 4 high. And this does have some pretty decent off-road capability. About 9 inches of ground clearance will get you pretty far. And again, if you really want the off-road oriented Nissan Frontier, get the Pro 4X and enjoy it, because that is just an amazing truck. This SV has a tow rating of around 6,300 pounds. I believe it's 6,330. Let's see how it handles around this bumpy turn. Yeah, I really like the front end in this. It feels pretty sharp. I've got a decent amount of steering feel once you load up the truck around a corner. This is still hydraulic power steering. It's got a good amount of heft to it. Definitely adds to the old school feel of this truck. It's pretty numb on center and when you're just cruising around, but once you load it up around a corner, you get a little bit more feel out of it than you would maybe a lot of the electric power steering counterparts in the class. We have a pretty nice radar guided cruise control system. 3 following distance settings, no lane keep assist or anything like that because we have hydraulic power steering. On the highway, it's pretty quiet. Aside from a little bit of wind noise, you barely hear the tires. Close the sunroof shade and that reduces noise a tad, but for the most part, a pretty comfortable truck to cruise with on the highway. Radar guided cruise control is pretty quick to accelerate around slower vehicles. I'll show you what that looks like here in a sec. Put your turn signal on, merge over. It'll drop a couple gears and you are off. We've already done a test of the Fender audio system. So if you want to see that, check out my POV review of the Pro 4X Frontier in Utah. Decent Fender system, much better sounding than a lot of the other Fender units that I've heard in Volkswagen products, for example. So while we're just cruising here, let's talk about this infotainment and this display. It's not necessarily the most attractive graphics or design or layout, but it's super quick and super responsive. Apple CarPlay works great. I love the color of the screen. It's really sharp, really nice saturation. You get a home button, menu home, and you can quickly change between day and night mode, and you can adjust that brightness level up on the top of the screen, which I think is really nice. A very useful feature. You've got a bunch of different settings, but really most of your settings are in this center display right between the gauges. Overall, a pretty nice infotainment. It does what you need it to. It's simple, it's not distracting, and I love that all of your controls are physical buttons and not stuff that's hidden in here. I'm definitely more impressed with the handling too on this Frontier SV compared to the Pro 4X. At least on road, it's a little bit tighter, a little bit stiffer, a bit more nimble, I think. That's probably due to the tires and the slightly stiffer suspension. But I like the way this handles. It's a bit of a surprise to me. Definitely not as truck-like as the Pro 4X was, and it feels a little bit lighter on its feet, which I definitely appreciate, and has a surprising amount of grip in the rain too on these Michelins. We'll throw us into 4 high here, just for fun. A good example of a turning radius not working out very well. Some Austin Powers turns in there. Rides pretty well off-road. Yeah. Let's show you what tow haul mode looks like here. As soon as you get on the brakes, it gives you a couple gears. It downshifts for you, so you get just a bit more engine braking from the drivetrain. We also posted a towing review in the Pro 4X Frontier a few weeks ago, so if you really want to see what it's like, I think we had about a 5,000 or 6,000 pound boat behind us. Pretty impressed with the power here. Tow haul mode does a nice job keeping the revs up and giving you power when you need it. Adds a bit more responsiveness to the transmission, and of course you can manually select your gears too if you want. Down here at the shifter, no pedals. I like tow haul mode on a back road. It acts a bit like a sport mode. Overall, guys, I've got good things to say about this Frontier. Really only a couple complaints. The turning radius is probably one of the most frequently observed complaints, but otherwise, the rest of this truck, you get used to driving it pretty quickly. I feel like the throttle calibration has changed a bit once it's learned my driving style this week. So no idea who was in this last, or if the battery was disconnected and everything was just needed to be reset before I got it. But I had a really sensitive throttle when I first got into this, and it's definitely improved the more I've driven it this week. Also, I've probably gotten used to it some too, but otherwise, this has been a fantastic truck. I really like the simplicity and day-to-day ease of use of this Frontier. It's just such a nice truck to live with. There's no weird screens or touch controls. It's just old school, it's familiar, and it works. And I think Nissan really listened to their buyers who just want a truck and to do truck things with it. And you know, if you don't need to tow or really haul a lot of stuff, this is all the truck you need. I love the size of it. It's just compact enough to fit in parking spaces and in tight trails and in city environments. It's not super long. It's maybe a little bit longer than the previous year. Overall, I'd say this is a really nice update for the Frontier from Nissan. They've done a good job thinking all this through and executing it in this new truck. Personally, I would swing for the Pro 4X. I just love the off-road capability. It's pretty unstoppable on a trail. That locking rear differential just gets you through it all. And there are definitely some advantages to this compared to a lot of the competition. I like the seats better than the Tacoma. I love this 9-speed automatic transmission. It drives so much better than the Tacoma's 8-speed. The power is great from this V6. The torque is pretty nice too. Overall, just a really well-rounded truck. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Tried to cover as much as I could in this video. Let me know if you have any questions, if I missed anything. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned on the Winding Road Magazine YouTube channel. We'll also be posting a POV night drive of this new Frontier. Show you guys what it looks like in low light. Oh, one more note. Whenever you're getting out of the truck, if you press the button on the door handle, it'll just beep. But if you press the button on the key fob, it'll honk. Same key fob that Nissan's used for years. You can remote start, lock, unlock, and set off the alarm. I like it because it's small. It doesn't take up a lot of space in your pocket. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you later. Take care.